This is all kind of one big thing. We'll split it kind of into two, but it's really one whole segment here. A little-known gaming site called Let's Play Video Games reported several NX rumors recently. The site is run by 3 veterans of Destructoid, so there's validity to their reputations as reporters, even though the site is new.
And on top of that, they also this week acquired a copy of the PS4 Slim, which Sony hasn't even announced yet, and did like an unboxing and a review of that. So they definitely have some connections that can get their hands on some things that people aren't supposed to know yet. That doesn't necessarily mean their Nintendo connections are correct, but they have proven that they have some solid connections.
Right. I mean, I think it's safe to say that given their reputations and their histories, that they're at least credible. They're certainly far more than a site this little known would be otherwise. But so first they reported that NX's detachable controllers will allow for motion controls and an advanced rumble feature. The controls are expected to eventually phase out Wii remotes, as the motion feature is quite similar, and the rumble feature will be able to change its intensity and the type of movement it vibrates with, depending on the situation. So in theory, the rumble you feel when striking a sword against a rock is different than striking a sword against enemy flesh.
Can I say I called it on motion controls?
You may.
I think I called it. Yeah, it totally makes sense that these would resemble Wii remotes in some way in terms of how they control, because just based on the shape that these things must be, I don't see why you wouldn't do it. It's also a good way to sort of patch together a possibility for being able to play Wii games with the new controllers, because one controller could be a nunchuck and one controller could be your double for your Wii remote. Theoretically, that means that Wii remotes could be used for some games that have few enough buttons. So all this sounds very much like what I would have expected Nintendo to do with this kind of concept. So, yay.
Yeah, I totally buy it. Like we said a few episodes ago, Nintendo likes weird controllers, and everything that we've seen and heard so far about NX's detachable controllers would indicate that motion control can be incorporated very seamlessly into their design. So I think that's both likely and good. And it also means that they can keep selling Wii-era games digitally, which they will not want to give up. So ultimately, I think this is true, and I'm going to go on to say that I would be very happy if it is, because I think the Wii Remote is one of the most graceful and intelligently designed controllers of all time, and the industry at large has kind of forgotten about motion controls in the years since Wii reigned supreme, but I still think that they have a lot to offer gaming, and so I personally can't wait to play Metroid Prime 4 and hopefully other major first-person games without having to deal with twin stick.
Yeah, it just kind of... I'm going to also say true, by the way. And unlike Wii, I don't think this is going to be a thing where it's like the focus of the console is motion controls, because obviously the focus is the ability to take your games on the go, and no one's going to be wanting to like play handheld games on the go with motion controls and whatnot. But it's nice that the option will still be there for games, like you said, like Metroid Prime 4 potentially, and other things like that. So I think it'll be good to have a system where motion controls are there, but maybe that's not exactly what Nintendo's pushing.
Definitely. Now, Let's Play Video Games also reported that the NX would have a social sharing button and a split D-pad, not unlike the PS4, which was corroborated both by Emily Rogers and Nintendo Life, though Emily Rogers claims the D-pad is so far only the case for the prototype and maybe a solid D-pad like Nintendo's always had with the systems when NX actually launches. Finally, the site reported that NX dev kits are not region-locked, and none of their sources have been told that the final system will be, so Iwata's comments last year about potentially making NX region-free may become a reality. And then that report tacked on a few other small statements, giving size measurements about the size of a Wii U gamepad, with a thickness just a little bit bigger than a folded-up 3DS XL. Although keep in mind that that's probably about the dev kit and not the final unit, though it may be very similar when it actually comes out in March. And then they also said that the controllers attach and detach with a little hole in the system, so you can push a button on the controllers to eject them, not unlike ejecting a Super Nintendo cart.
I'm going to call true on split D-pad, because that's one of the things I was always wondering about this split controller concept in the first place, was if those two things can be used individually by two different players, they would need some kind of solution for face buttons.
Right.
And a split D-pad will do that. And split D-pads work well enough from my experience that I'm not going to complain about it. As for the region lock, Iwata's telegraphed a few times that that's going to go away with their next system, so I have no reason to doubt that. As for the size, judging by the size of the Wii U gamepad screen, which they've probably set at 6.2 inches for a reason. I would expect them to keep something kind of similar with the NX, and the size measurements that we got with these rumors really goes along with what you'd expect for the size for the device for that. So I will call true on all of it. Everything is true.
Yep. Yeah, same here.
I'm also going true.
Cool. Yeah, I have nothing to say on any of those other things, so...
I do kind of expect the attachment to be maybe change with the final retail units to be maybe a little more elegant, assuming that they haven't found a really awesome solution for the attachment already.
Sure.
Like, for example, they mentioned magnets in one of the patents. That's a possibility that they could do if they can get it right. So I'm not married to that particular idea, but that's something that I wouldn't doubt is true right now.
Hello everybody, thank you for listening to this Nintendo Week Clip NWC. If you like what you hear, please subscribe to us here on YouTube for more highlights and discussion videos from Nintendo Week Podcast, or subscribe to us on iTunes for weekly breakdowns of all your Nintendo news, discussion segments on subjects, games, and more, and tons of other features. Thanks for listening, and we will see you tomorrow with another NWC.